this talk. In this talk, I will start by telling a small story. A small story about when I was young. I grew up in a small village. And that was a very small village. A few hundred residents. And we were 8, 10 young males in the approximate same age. This small village was 3 kilometers from a small town. 3 kilometers, that's around 2 miles. And that small town had around 10,000 residents. But what I can remember from that time was, compared to today, that my reality was in one sense it was smaller. But in another sense, it was so much more vast. In those times, we had one national TV channel. And as I recall it, mostly in black and white. But then again, we are fairly close to Sweden, so we had also 2 Swedish national TV channels. And that was it. And all the news, we had a local newspaper. But if something happened out in the world, it would take days before we even knew about it. I can also remember that when I was riding my bike to the town that was nearby, it was like visiting a completely different universe. So it was so different from how society is now and how young people are experiencing reality. But as I said, seen from the perspective of now, the way that I lived in my young days would seem to be uninteresting, seem to be boring, seem to be not much happening. But the funny thing is, as I recall it, that we were very creative. And we were to a much larger degree in direct contact with reality, reality as it is, reality as it unfolds, where we are. So that is the point that I want to make. That the way that society has evolved with the digital revolution, it is not all just good. Young people, they have to deal with a much more complex information flow. It is not as if their reality is that much different than the reality that we were experiencing. But they are being bombarded with information that has not much to do with their direct reality. And this information storm creates a lot of difficulties for the human mind. You see, the human mind is an interpreting machine. The human mind tries to make sense of everything. But how does one make sense of the world when you are constantly being bombarded with details about events on the other side of the world, on the other side of the earth? So they say that there has been a surge in psychological, what's it called? Diagnosis. And they say that people are being diagnosed with ADHD and the variants of that. And there are burnouts, stress-related burnouts. Everybody seems to be running faster and faster and faster. But I say, no wonder. I do not find it strange at all, considering what has happened in society. We seem to have lost the ability to be in direct contact with the reality that is. And your reality has absolutely nothing to do with some event on the other side of the planet. But the human mind loves to talk about everything. The dilemma is that it is a boundless whole. And the human mind has dropped into that hole, and it is unable to find its way out again. That hole is a hole of fiction. An information tsunami. And humanity is swirling around in that tsunami of information. And the mind has been programmed, conditioned to be in a constant state of stress, a constant state of trying to handle that tsunami of information. And that is why the mind gets agitated when I have these pauses. Pauses of silence, pauses of stillness. That agitated mind is not who you are. That agitated or restless mind is something that you are experiencing. It has nothing to do with who you are. But there is not many humans who knows that. Because humanity is, by and large, lost within this fiction, the mind-made fiction, where there is identification with thinking. And by that I mean there is this trying to find a sense of self in the thought stream, trying to define that sense of self. And is it any wonder that when you are doing that, and you at the same time are being bombarded with a tsunami of information that overloads the mental capacity, is it then any wonder that you are experiencing restlessness, worries, anxiety? The mind craves getting back into the tsunami. That momentum is a mental prison. Doing, 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 doing. What is the cure for that? Well, firstly, it is important that we recognize what it is that is going on. that we recognize that there is this momentum within that craves excitement. Most humans have become addicted to excitement and drama. Hollywood knows that. Netflix knows that. The 9 o'clock news knows that. Advertisers knows that. When the mind is addicted to all this happening, there is a loss of autonomy, because more or less the mind is running on autopilot. So you are being asleep at the wheel. If you confront the mind with that, then it will deny it. It will say, look, I am absolutely not asleep at the wheel. Look at all that activity I am doing. I am doing this and I am keeping informed about this and that and that and that and all this happenings. But it is happening on autopilot. Try to stop and you will find out. And already a lot of those who started watching these videos, they have falling, what's it called? They are no longer here watching this video because it is simply not stimulating. The mind needs its drug. So that is the first point. That is the first step. We have to acknowledge what has happened and do not blame yourself. It is not your fault. It is nobody's fault. It's just simply how things have been turning out. But here we are. This is how it is. So, step 2. Become present. Relearn the ability to be present where you are. Become interested in what is happening, in what is happening where you are, and nowhere else. I'm not saying that you cannot watch the new world news. That's not what I'm saying. Do that occasionally. But you don't have to do that. Your reality is where you are. This is my reality. And then the mind can rest and it can become creative. This is reality. And the mind says that's boring. No, reality is absolutely not boring. It is possible to do a lot of creative things. Where you are, you don't need anything, you don't lack anything to be creative. But the mind has thousands stories about what it is lacking. Become present with what is. It does not matter what it is, just simply with what is. Pull back your attention to what is. Your attention have been hijacked. But you don't know that. When we learn that our attention are constantly being hijacked, we say no. I'm not going to be a part of that game. It is still possible to function 100% in a modern society. You will function even better. Much more creative. No restlessness. No more anxiety. Become present. Be where you are. Become curious about life. The life that surrounds you. That is the same presence that I was brought up in. I was not bombarded with a gazillion inputs constantly. When I was a young boy, I lived where I was. And we had what we had. It was not always easy, but who says that life has to be easy? Not always. But beautiful. You are surrounded by miracles. But if you want to experience those miracles, if you want to discover those miracles, you have to be present. You have to pull back your attention. You have to say no to being hijacked. Social media is hijacking your attention constantly. Surrounded by miracles. Miracles everywhere. The mystery of life. The mystery of existence. But it is a marvelous mystery. It is an extremely beautiful mystery. But if you're not present, you will not be able to experience it. You will not be able to recognize it. Not being present is the same as being a puppet. Hijacked. The attention constantly being hijacked. And the mind fools itself, saying, I am the one who are, oh, this is interesting. Oh, yeah, oh, drama. But the mind fools itself. There are no free will there. There are no autonomy. It is like running on autopilot. Completely asleep at the wheel. But the mind denies it. Take a deep breath. And then simply just relax. Let the shoulders fall down. You are home. You are perfect. You are exactly how you are meant to be in this moment. Yes, even if there is a disease or a disability. Then that will be your learning process. And then some might say, well, you do not know how it is to live with a chronic disease or a disability. But I do know. And I do see miracles everywhere. Still. And I do see the exceptional beauty of existence. Anyway. And I do see what appears to be birth and death. Anyway. And the suffering when the mind loses itself within that narrative. I see it all. I also see that the way society is functioning right now, it does not work. The amount of unnecessary suffering that are being created is mind-bending. But don't lose yourself in that. Bring your attention back to where you are. Become an island of sanity. That is what the humanity needs. We need more islands of sanity, so that we can have a sanity revolution. And the beauty about that is that this sanity revolution, it always starts with oneself. So you don't have to go out and fight the world. If you do that, then the insanity will consume you again. Now that's the beauty about sanity. We do not have to change anything outside ourselves. We simply just have to acknowledge what it is that is going on and what it is that society has been indoctrinating into us. And then we unravel that. And that is the sanity revolution. And it is an internal job. And a part of that sanity revolution is cultivating the ability to be present wherever you are. And cultivating the ability to say, no, I am not allowing my mind to be hijacked by the madness. And that we have to do over and over and over again. Because we are being confronted with madness everywhere. But that is why we need to pull back our attention to what is very close to us in reality. And when we do pull back the attention, then we are being anchoring ourselves in reality. And by doing that, we become an island of sanity. And that will spread. An island of sanity. Thank you. Take care, my friend. Cultivate the ability to stay present. Say no to being hijacked. Pull back the attention to the present moment. Be curious about the present moment. You will find a gold mine there. That is what is laying at the end of the rainbow. The present moment. Reality. You. Say no to being hijacked.